Hey everyone, I am Major Injuries, and today I'm here with Fallout 4. And I gotta say, I played this game when it first came out 10 years ago, and I made it to like level 26. And for some reason, I quit playing the game, and I've really never had an interest in playing it. About 3 or 4 months ago, I saw the wife playing it because it was on Game Pass, and was like, "Oh, okay, cool." I don't remember that game being this fun. So I went ahead and downloaded it and started playing it. We beat the Institute and everything, and after a while we started getting bored. And I noticed that they had Game of the Year edition out for $9.99, and it had all the DLCs. And I thought, hey, there's more, there's something else to do here. So we went ahead and purchased the DLC, well, the game, actually, Game of the Year edition. And man, I gotta tell you, it's a completely different game with these DLCs. It really brings the game to life. I love the DLCs. I've now beat all the DLCs, and I'm working on Vault 88, building a vault. It's absolutely incredible. I've taken it apart and built it probably 4 or 5 times. Still haven't found something that I really like. But I may be putting something out here eventually on that build once I get it where I'm pleased with it, I guess. I'm still learning. I've only been playing now for probably about 3 months, and so there's still a lot to learn. I just started with the Contraptions DLC, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. I built my very first factory, and I just wanted to share it real quick, and also encourage those that have not played the game or played it 10 years ago like me. Definitely give it a shot. Game of the Year edition is fantastic. The DLCs are a lot of fun, and they really bring the game to life. Let's take a look here at the Contraptions DLC. So the first thing I did was obviously set up some switches here for each one of the hoppers. And I first laid out these hoppers in a row. I wanted to find out how much space it was going to take and where was the best place to put them. That's always the designing the layout's really going to be your first thing that you want to do. So I got all the hoppers, as you can see here. I got all the hoppers lined up and realized they were going to fit here perfectly. So I went ahead and then I added the floors here so I could go ahead and put the conveyors down for these are the sorters right here. Each sorter is going to sort out the specific material for each one of the hoppers, and you can look at the hoppers here and see this is for oil, and this sorter is set up so it sorts for oil, drops it into the hopper that's for oil. Okay, this sorter sorts out lead. The next sorter is copper. We do fertilizer. This is kind of wonky here. Steel and plastic. So I went ahead and laid this out, got this conveyor to go around here where I felt like I had an opening I could put in the builder. So I got me an ammunition plant set up a little insert here so that I could actually add a tripwire for the counter, and then added the conveyor storage to it. So this is where the ammo is going to come to once it's being made. Obviously the counter is ran by this, and what I've done is just ran the wires all the way across. I did put up some flooring for everything, as you can tell, to help support everything. Ran the cabling over here and hooked it up to the counter. Now I'll talk about that counter in a moment. So really the build here is not complicated. There was nothing hard. I actually watched another guy, which I'll put a link to his video in the description. He was the actually inspiration for this. It was his first video as well. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but I'll put a link to his video in here so you can watch it. But it inspired me to, I'd never used this before. Never built any kind of factories before. So this kind of, his video inspired me to try this. So this is really me just trying to figure out how everything connects. And you can see I just basically never used the conduits before. So this was a good test here, or a good opportunity for me to practice using that and see how everything connected the wires to the switch. I have a main power bank. As you can see, the conduits that go across here, conduit connectors go across and basically hook up to the main power source over here. So I've got a power bank that feeds everything. the switches connect to the power bank and then connect to the hoppers, which opens the hoppers. And you can see, for example, I have this switch turned on right now and this hopper's open. And if you look at this hopper, the switch is off and the switch is closed, or the hopper's closed. So that's basically how this works. Nothing really here is complicated, but because I'd never done it before, it was a great experience here. This has been really a great opportunity for me to learn how everything connects. So again, probably nobody's going to be blown away by this, but I definitely wanted to share it just basically because it was my first build, and I wanted to try to encourage other people to actually do this as well, to play around with this new DLC. It's absolutely tons of fun. There's so many things you can do with this. I have started a build on another factory. In fact, it's just about done, and I'll put a video up on that one. And basically, I wanted to see if I could build like 5 or 6 different, or maybe even 7, I'll have to go back and count it, different items at the same time in a single factory. So it's stupidly wild and crazy. But it's my first build, so I'm going to eventually tear that one down, I think, to rebuild it, because yeah, it's my first time, and obviously things aren't laid out as well as they should be. The layout's the hardest part, figuring out how to lay everything out. Alright, let me switch to, whoops, switch to this view where it's a little easier to see, so everybody can see how this is connected. Nothing complicated. All the sorters are connected together. The power is fed basically to the conveyors here are fed by this single power source, and it controls everything. And then up here, I basically fed this power to this storage. This is the vacuum hopper where I've got the components that I'm going to use to build shotgun shells at the moment. I'm going to build 5 boxes of shotgun shells, and I'll show you how that works. And it's basically going to feed these up, and the power is basically going to, from the hopper, is going to basically power up everything else that's connected to this. So this lift is going to lift all the materials up to the sorters, where they're going to be sorted, dropped down into the hopper, fed on the conveyor, and brought over to the ammunition plant. And then yeah, you can throw all kinds of materials in here, like for example fans, and if it needs something out of the fan, it'll drop the fan over here and drop it in here, and anything that's not used will be left over. If you put a bunch of stuff in here that's not used, it's going to not be sorted. It'll eventually come out down here to this storage hopper, which is basically a conveyor storage. So very simple stuff. There are some misconceptions I heard when I was first trying to figure this out about the counter. Some of the videos out there were saying things about these counters, and I found it was not actually true. I had set up a demo here. I'd set up a little workbench and played around with all the possible ways to wire it, how to set up the reset, all this stuff, and tested thoroughly, and I've definitely figured out how this works, and I'm going to pass that on as well. So first of all, let's go ahead and get it going, and let's see how it works. It's been fun. I put a switch here to basically control the hopper here so that things don't just take off as soon as I turn the main power on. And it's just for this video. So basically now it's going to start feeding these materials out one at a time. I've got it set for I believe a 3-second delay, and you can set that up through here. Oh, I almost forgot. Before I do this, we want to say whoops, not that one. The ammunition plant. Let's go ahead and make shotgun shells. I almost forgot to set that up here. So let's go to shotgun shells. Alright. So now that's set up for shotgun shells, and it did say I needed plastic as well, so I don't have that open. So let's open that one. I've got the fertilizer, and I've got that already open. So there we go. That's simple as that. I've got the ammunition plant set up for the materials that or the ammo that I want to build, and then I just open the hoppers for the appropriate materials, and voila, here we go. The materials are just going to be fed down here from the conveyor into here where it's going to build it. Very, very simple. Like I say, this is obviously Anybody can build this, and I encourage you to build it if you haven't done so already. This is a great way to just figure out how things work. A good example here is these conveyor belts. You can see go one direction, so if you have it turned around the wrong way, it won't connect. So if you're trying to connect a conveyor and it doesn't work, it's probably backwards, so just rotate it around and it should connect. Little things like that you'll learn. Figuring out how things all fit together and how everything works was the fun part, obviously. So I'll probably fast forward through this so you don't have to sit through it. But let's see if we can get our first ammo, and it's going to take a few minutes once everything gets in here. So we have enough right now that it should start building. It takes 2 of each item, so we're going to get 5 boxes total. So here we go. So there's our first one, and there's 10 rounds in the box. So this is going to make 50 rounds of ammo. So if you wanted to make 300 rounds of ammo, you'd only need 30 boxes. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty easy to make 30 boxes. So all right, so what this is doing, you can see when the shotgun shell passes through here, you can see it activates it momentarily. You got to make sure you're using the laser tripwire and not the laser tripwire switch. Easy for me to say. And that's basically just sending a pulse. As I showed earlier, it's sending a pulse over the wire here, which I've ran all the way down and connected, as you can see up here, to this counter, and it should be incrementing. Alright, so that's basically how it works. And a quick note on the counters, because there was some misinformation out here. Basically, you're going to put your first one down, and then when you go to set up your second one, it's going to automatically snap to it, and then the third one will snap to it, and this becomes a single unit from that point on. Then you're going to basically feed the tripwire is going to go to the first counter. You're going to connect the first counter to the second counter, and then the second counter to the third counter. And once you do that, this basically acts as a single unit, so everything will increment properly. There's nothing special that you have to do. It's a lot easier than it was described in some of the videos I watched. You're going to go down here to the power counter control, and you want to make sure this is set to 9, and what that means is it's going to rotate 9 times before it sends a pulse. So it basically, when it hits 0, it's going to send that pulse. So that's how you get it to count like a regular counter. So this will go all the way around to 0, and then it'll send a pulse over to this one. As soon as this one hits 0, it'll send a pulse over to this one. So it increments fine. I've not had any problems with it. The next thing is resetting it. I've seen some videos on how complicated it is to reset. It is ridiculous that you can't just send a reset command, but it's really not hard. Set this to 1, and what that means is now it's going to count 1, and then it's going to go to 0, and then when it goes to 0, it sends a pulse. So we're going to take 4 clicks of my switch here, and that's going to reset all of them, and I'll show you what I mean here. So I've got this switch here connected to the center post of the second counter, basically. Now this second counter, when it hits 0, it's going to send a pulse to the first counter and the third counter, which is going to cause it to pulse 1 time or rotate 1 time. So this is going to increment to 5, and now because I have it set to 1, the next time this sends a pulse, it'll send it to 0. And so you can see it's really that simple to set it up. You can leave all the wires connected as long as the switch is off and it's set to 9. This isn't going to interfere with the normal operation. And then when you're ready to reset it, you can see it reset that to 0, and it sent a pulse to both sides. Now we're going to do it again. It's going to increment by 1, and this time when I turn it back on, it's going to send a pulse 0 out the center one, which is going to cause all of them to 0. It's that simple. Done. So I'm zeroed out. One of the videos I saw, it said in order to set this to 9, you had to do this individually for each one of the counters, which is not true. I mean, now to get this back to 9, all I have to do is go here, and boom, all of them now are set as one unit, are set to 1, or excuse me, are set to 9. So that's it. That's the build in its entirety. It was a lot of fun. It's great practice. I hadn't used these posts before. I hadn't used hoppers. The wiring was the hardest part, really, was trying to figure out how to get the conduits connected and all that stuff. But none of it was hard. I encourage you to do it. And stay tuned. I've got more videos coming out. My next, like I said, I'm working on a factory right now, which is absolutely insane. So hopefully you'll stay tuned for that. So, all right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. I appreciate it. And we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.